Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're going to take a pretty incredible journey deep inside our own cells. We're going to unpack the biological code that makes every single one of us unique. So let's do it. Let's dive into the blueprint of you.
Have you ever just stopped and wondered, what is it that makes you, well, you? What decides your hair color, or your height, or even how your body works? It all comes down to this secret code, this master instruction manual that's tucked away inside almost every single cell in your body. So what exactly is this code?
To answer that, we've got to start at the very beginning, with the absolute foundation, the molecule of life itself. So let's start with part 1, DNA.
So DNA, or its full name if you want to get fancy, deoxyribonucleic acid, is the molecule of heredity. The best way to think about it is like the ultimate master blueprint for a living thing. It contains all the instructions needed to build and operate, well, you.
So what does it look like? Structurally, DNA is like a twisted ladder. Scientists call it a double helix. The sides of the ladder are always the same, but the rungs, that's where the real magic happens. These rungs are made of 4 chemical bases, which are basically the alphabet of our genetic code: adenine, thymine, cytosine, and guanine, or as we usually call them, A, T, C, and G.
And this genetic alphabet follows this beautifully simple but incredibly powerful rule. Adenine, or A, always pairs up with thymine, T, and cytosine, C, always pairs with guanine, G. This strict pairing is the absolute key to how DNA can be copied so perfectly. It's the specific sequence of millions and millions of these pairs that writes the instructions for everything that you are.
Okay, so we have this incredibly long instruction manual. And when I say long, I mean it. If you could stretch out the DNA in just one of your cells, it would be about 2 meters long. So how in the world does all of that fit inside a microscopic nucleus?
The answer is just brilliant packaging. The DNA is supercoiled and tightly wrapped up into these structures called chromosomes. A good way to think of a chromosome is like a bookshelf or maybe a container that neatly organizes that huge library of DNA. So, how many of these bookshelves do we actually have in our cells? Well, in nearly every single cell in the human body, the magic number is this one, 46.
And where do they come from? It's not just 46 random chromosomes floating around. Nope. You actually have 23 pairs, and for each of those pairs, you inherit one from your mother and one from your father. This, right here, is the fundamental basis of heredity.
And just so you know, this number isn't universal for all life. Different species organize their DNA in different ways. For instance, while we humans have 46 chromosomes, dogs have 78, and cats have 38. It's just a fun little fact that really shows the diversity of life's organizational skills.
So we've gone from the raw code of DNA to how it's all packaged up in chromosomes. Now let's zoom in even further, to the actual instructions themselves. Let's talk about genes.
A gene isn't the entire DNA strand, not at all. It's a very specific section of it. So if DNA is the entire cookbook, then a gene is just a single recipe. You've got the recipe for your blood type or the recipe for your eye color. Each one is a specific gene.
Now, for almost any gene, there can be different versions or variations. Think of it like different ways to make the same recipe. These variations are called alleles, and they are the absolute key to all the amazing diversity we see in the living world.
Let's use eye color to make this crystal clear. The gene is the general instruction for eye color, but the specific versions of that gene are called alleles. So you might inherit an allele for blue eyes from one parent and an allele for brown eyes from another. How those 2 alleles interact, that's what determines the final color of your eyes.
All right, let's take a quick breath. We've looked at the 3 key players, the DNA molecule, the chromosome package, and the gene instruction. Now let's tie it all together into one clear picture so we can see how it all connects.
It all fits together in this really logical hierarchy. It starts with the code, those A, T, C, and G base pairs that make up DNA. Then, a specific section of that code, a single instruction, is what we call a gene. And finally, that long strand of DNA, which holds thousands of genes, is packaged neatly into a chromosome. Code, instruction, package. See? It all flows together.
So why does all this matter?
Well, because it's the specific combination of alleles, those different gene versions you get from your parents, that ultimately determines your unique set of traits. This whole elegant system is the very engine of heredity. It's how life passes itself on.
You know, this three-part system, DNA, genes, and chromosomes, it's the shared language that writes the story of all life on Earth. From a tiny little bacterium to a giant blue whale, we're all written in the same code. It's a story that's been billions of years in the making, and it leaves us with one heck of a fascinating question to think about. What will the next chapter be?